I'm gonna share this dialogue, this back and forth with you guys, man. The Senate holds a hearing regarding LGBTQ and citizen rights within the United States of America, guys. Right? There is definitely a war over gender and sex. You let me know what you think because I've seen bizarre stuff and it's getting really out of hand. It's really, really strange. It's really, really strange, guys. Check this out.
Ms. Robinson, I want to follow up by trying to understand your answer to one of Senator Cruz's questions. And this is really a question, not a suggestion. Do I understand your position to be that there are two sexes, but there can be more than two genders?
There's two sexes, right? So are you trying to say that there are more genders than the sexes? And I understand the feeling, and I feel like this, therefore gender is fluid. Check this out. Listen to how she responds.
I wouldn't even say two, and we've got Dr. Lopez here as well, but there's also the definition of intersex. I think that often in these conversations we're conflating sex and gender, and I do want to affirm here that trans women are women. That is their gender.
I want to affirm here that trans women who are biologically really men are women, and that is their gender. That's their gender because they label themselves as women, even though they're not really biologically women. So that's one gender out of multiple genders.
Okay, but I'm trying to understand. Do you make a distinction between sex and gender?
Yes, sir.
Okay, explain that. Just do you think there are more than two sexes?
I believe that there's a definition for intersex as well that I want to acknowledge.
Okay, so her premise is there are multiple genders, but there's not only two sexes. I think that she's making the case in her mind that sex is different than gender, and sex is not only male and female, but intersex as well. Guys, we all know what's really going on here.
But sex is
Okay,
assigned
so
at birth.
I'm just trying to understand. I'm thoroughly confused.
I'm thoroughly confused as well.
You're born, I'm talking about biology, male, female, and what else?
I believe that intersex is also acknowledged.
Intersex.
But again, I'm not a doctor here.
Intersex is also acknowledged. By the way, I'm not a doctor. So the premise is, are we born male and female as God created us? Is that a reality, or are we just adding something else because for the sake of adding something else? He's just asking a basic question. Are you trying to say that upon birth, we have male, we have female, and we have something else? Is that what you're trying to say, that we have more than two sexes? And how does that look like?
Here, what I can
And what
say
does intersex mean?
is that there's a difference between sex and gender, and I think in these conversations we're conflating the two.
Well, but I want to start with sex. Okay, there's male, there's female. When a baby's born, before the baby has had time to even have a sense of self, there's male, female, and intersex. There's a third sex.
I believe that is true, but I would defer to Dr. Lopez as I'm not a physician.
Okay. And how many genders are there?
I think the gender is expansive and the definitions are always growing. Today I can tell you, I
More
talk
than
to young
five?
people
More
that
than-
talk about non-binary as
More than five?
I think the gender is not a binary is what I'm trying
But
to say.
are there more than five genders? I'm just trying to understand. Are there more?
How many genders are there? And what exactly is gender? Guys, this is the ludicrous things that are actually happening. If my son said that he feels like playing with my daughter's dolls today, does that mean that his gender switched to becoming female for the day? And then maybe tomorrow his gender will switch back to becoming male? Like, we know that the devil is the author of confusion, guys. So this is what happens when a nation moves away from God. All that could happen. The only thing that could happen is confusion.
More than five genders?
Well, I mean, I think that there was a time where women wearing pants didn't feel like it was appropriate for their gender, and yet I'm wearing pants today. I think that there are ways that we express our
Are there
gender
more
that
than
are
five
expansive.
genders? Are there more than five?
I wouldn't subject myself to naming.
Sorry, women wearing pants does not mean that their gender switched up. So tomorrow, if you decide to wear a dress or a skirt, does that mean that your gender reverts back to what we consider gender for women? Guys, you can't make this stuff up, man.
how many genders there are, but what I can say
Is
is
there
that
an
gender is a
infinite number?
reflection. Excuse me?
There's an infinite number of genders?
I think depending on your culture, there are a lot of different genders that exist. And I can also say that it's a term that's evolving. If you look at young people today, they really don't lean into the binary of only woman and man. So I think that it's incumbent upon us not to legislate on this, but create space for them to explore what their identities are.
So what we're doing is we're allowing the young people to redefine fact, to redefine reality, to redefine truth. It doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't make sense, guys. This is over the top, unbelievable. We put people in mental institutions because they believe themselves to be something else when they are really not that thing, and we label them as crazy. But for whatever reason, as a society, we are labeling these kind of people as the norm, even more normal than the people who think the way that they ought to think, because they are what they are and they know what they are. Gender is either of the two sexes, male and female, especially when considered with reference to social and cultural differences rather than biological ones. The term is also used more broadly to denote a range of identities that do not correspond to established ideas of male and female. So they say gender is fluid. Okay, I'm going right back to the video. What else other than male and female could these genders or gender be associated with? That's the question. That's the age-old question that, I'm being honest, I'm trying to figure out myself. It makes absolutely no sense. What else? What classifies a gender? How could a gender be classified outside of the grounds of male and female, masculine, feminine? This is bizarre that they're actually having this conversation in the Senate.
Let's get back to athletics. I think I understand what you're saying. There are three sexes, male, female, and intersex.
I believe that to be true, but again, I'm not a physician.
And
so
there are an infinite number of genders because gender is a mental state.
Gender is about expression, and I think that there are a variety of ways that you can express your gender.
Okay, so
your gender could be a cat if you express yourself as a cat. Your gender could be a dog if you express yourself as a dog. Like, what else other expression outside of male and female are you expressing yourself as? And if you express yourself as the opposite sex, does that make you the opposite sex? Well, I think she'll say no, because you're born the way you are. But what we're doing is we are authorizing the way people choose to live based upon how they feel, right? Based upon how they feel inside, right? Clothed under the name gender.
there's infinite number. All right, let's go back to the biology. Male, female, boy, girl. Okay. Biologically, do males have an advantage over females biologically in sports?
Again, I'm not a physician and I can't speak to that.
What's your real world experience?
It depends. I mean, there are some people who are born male that I'm faster than if I were to sprint against them, and some that I'm not. Some males that are taller than some women, and some that are shorter.
That a biological male has a physical advantage in sports over a biological female?
Not as a definitive statement.
Give me an example. Well, no, I don't think. How many female members of the NBA do you see?
Well, I can say that, there's been this news article about men that think that they could beat Serena Williams in tennis, right? That they think that they could actually score a point on her. And it's just not the case. She is stronger than that.
What's your experience, Ben? Male, female.
Both Serena and Venus lost to the 203rd ranked male tennis player, which they're phenoms for women.
Come again? Lost to the 200th and what? Serena Williams and Venus? Are you mad? Are you crazy? Men and women are different. So this gender thing is just a smoke screen to confuse people and lure people away from the truth and from the fact. And they use this gender thing and they dilute the true definition of gender in order to push their agenda, when it's obvious that they're really pushing against male because they want our men to be feminine, and they're pushing against women, hence having men who dress up as women competing in women's sports. So they're not for male, they're not for female. Satan is not for males. Satan is not for females. Satan is not for men nor women. He's for the destruction of humanity and society. And he's all about confusion. So let's divide and separate gender and sex. I don't believe that she's being honest and truthful to what gender actually is. And gender, I believe, is cohesive with your sex. And yeah, Serena could beat the crap out of me on the tennis court, no doubt. But why are they losing against the 200th plus ranked male tennis player? And they're the greatest to ever play the game. Because men and women are different. But the devil does not want you to know that.
My experience, my husband, he swam at University of Kentucky as well. In terms of accolades and in terms of national ranking, I was a much better swimmer than him. He could kick my butt any day of the week.
Yikes.
Without trying.
Okay.
Without trying.
I just think, Ms. Robinson, I'm trying to understand where you're coming from. I think you lose a lot of credibility when you don't concede that a biological male has physical advantages over a biological female. I mean, I just think that's a proven fact, and you really hurt your credibility. I understand you want the world to be a better place. I do too, and I don't think people ought to be discriminated against because of an immutable characteristic. I don't. And I think that I think everybody ought to be free to be themselves. And what you do in your bedroom or what I do in my bedroom with a consenting adult is nobody's business. But if what I do in my bedroom with a consenting adult, if I decide I want to tell somebody's child about it, then other people have rights too. And I think parents have rights. And I think biological females have rights to be able to compete fairly in sport, in sports. So I really think you hurt your credibility when you refuse to acknowledge that biological males have an advantage over biological females. It kind of makes me wonder about all your testimony.
Look, guys, this is what's happening, and the enemy knows it. Guys, we got to be on guard for our kids, and we got to continue to proclaim the truth, because the enemy is out proclaiming his truth, man. So let me know what you think, right? Do you, like, which side do you fall on? You know, do you think it matters, or do you believe, like I believe, that these are clear signs that God is right there? And because when we can't define Adam and Eve, we are in a very dangerous place. Anyways, guys, don't forget, like, share, and subscribe to Aim High. You know, it's all love. Until next time, take it easy. Peace.